Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Exploration Tech. My name is Jared Hackbart. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Brilliance, and I feel like a broken record every time I hear the sentence in my head, but I am so excited about today's session, especially our guest, and to be talking personalization as a whole. It's a topic that we get excited about internally. It's something we're excited about bringing to our customers and helping them think through and how they can be strategic leveraging this effort. I'm going to pass it to Lori and let her introduce herself.
Yes, I am really excited about the conversation today. Before we get into it, a little bit about myself and Brilliance. I started Brilliance in 1998. Before I started Brilliance, my background's in computer electrical engineering, and I ended up working at NASA Johnson Space Center as a flight controller for the Space Shuttle program, which was a lot of fun. I ended up meeting my husband there. He also was a flight controller at NASA. Also an engineer, and we eventually ended up relocating to Milwaukee, Wisconsin through a job promotion that he had after going to work for Rockwell Automation. And so we ended up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1998, and I was trying to figure out what could be as cool as space, and I decided to start a web development company. The web seemed like a fun place to be, and so from there we've been on a journey. We ended up focusing as an organization at Brilliance on the B2B e-commerce space primarily, and also along the way just really believing in the power of content and commerce combined, which over the years brought us to Episerver in 2013 as a partnership, who now is known as Optimizely. We've grown as a team, and really excited about the conversation that we're having here today. Excited about getting connected with Naz in the last year and learning about her journey, also working with some really great organizations and helping them to realize additional potential that exists through harnessing digital and specifically personalization that we're going to get into today. So Naz, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm excited to be here. My name is Nazanin Ramezani. I'm a senior product evangelist at Optimizely, formerly known as Episerver. So my role is mostly to work with customers, with our partners, on customer strategy on the newer products. I focus on go-to-market strategy and launches, both globally and in North America. And in the past life, I was a digital strategist for a long time, so I was kind of on the opposite side of the curve right now. I work very closely with a lot of customers to build their digital presence, kind of keep going on that digital maturity path and make the right decisions as far as where the investments should be. So I'm very excited about today's conversation.
And with that background, you can see why we are so excited to have Naz here with us. So let's, before we actually jump into it, a couple housekeeping items. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to punch them into the chat box, and we will do our best to address them throughout the conversation. And if you get a minute, please give Optimizely, formerly Episerver, and Brilliance a follow on LinkedIn. Both of our organizations are constantly working on trying to produce the best content as possible. So there's always good stuff coming out. We'd certainly appreciate those follows.
I'd love to start at a high level. How would you describe what is personalization?
I think personalization was one of those words that about 5-6 years ago, it was everywhere. Everyone was talking about how you have to personalize, and no one really knew what you mean. Some companies kind of define personalization as content personalization, like, hey, Naz, welcome to the website, which is this very simplistic view of personalization, still very powerful. Some people took it a little bit further with automation, with recommendations, with experimentation, all the ION words. But I think at the end of it, like what we've realized at Optimizely, we have so many different products and we work with so many different customers at different places in their digital journey. And we've realized that personalization really means something different to different companies based on what they're doing and what they're selling and where they are on their journey. So what we do here at Optimizely is we kind of split them into 3 main categories. The first one being kind of like around segmentation. So that's rules-based personalization, which is if you fit these rules, then you see this. And it can be as simple as, hey, Naz, welcome to our website, or as complicated as completely different experience throughout the entire journey on the website based on the profile based on which categories they're interested in, whatever that persona-based personalization might be. But they're a lot more rules-based. And then the second portion being around automation, the true kind of individual one-to-one, I see something different than you, Lori, that's backed by machine learning. There's algorithms in the back. It's kind of personalization at scale. So that's kind of the second piece that we look at: content recommendations, product recommendations. That's kind of running in the background without you having to manually connect products together or create content that fit certain topics. And then the third and last one is what we call individualization, which is a combination of all of the above, which means you can truly kind of have the right mix of tools to create all the unique experiences that you need to for the individual, not just groups of people. So that's kind of how we define it. And I'm interested to talk about each of them in a little bit more detail. But I think what we're seeing, like you would see 5 years ago, everyone was like, you have to personalize and best practices for personalization. I think what we're learning is that there isn't really best practice. It's truly a matter of understanding your business and doing what you can do right and not going too crazy or too little as well. So having the right mix is what is important.
Yeah. I get really excited about the work that Optimizely is doing because I see your focus on helping make marketers' lives easier in the process. And like you said, like personalization can be such a buzzword and yet also can be either a lot of work and also hard for people to know what to do next, which is why I think the conversation we're having today is really exciting.
You referenced the 3 buckets that Optimizely uses for personalization, and we're talking about just approach in general and how the idea of starting with one and then expanding into the other buckets wasn't necessarily the best way to go. And you had a really interesting mindset about using a mix. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think something that maybe us as solution providers are slightly to blame as well. I think some mindset that I've picked up on in the market a lot is that you do segmentation only, and then once you have money, you move on to stage 2, which is doing like rules-based personalization, and then next phase is to do automation. And that's not necessarily true. Like, yes, the cost associated with a recommendation engine, for example, that's backed by machine learning, it's a little bit higher up front, but it also starts making money and you have less human investment, time investment, and it's a lot more effective and it usually pays for itself. So that's not necessarily the right way to think about it, or that Amazon does machine learning and we can be at that level and we can only do rules with personalization. I really think where we've seen the most success is companies that are true to themselves. They understand, okay, we realistically have 2 people doing this work, right? Like if we're truly going to personalize, I'm not going to be able to have true personalized journeys for 15 segments, right? That's impossible. I can't have truly personalized product recommendations that I'm manually going and saying, with this SKU, you should buy this SKU. That's just not possible long term, even if you have a really great team and you're doing the work, and it's not sustainable long term. So I think it's very important to have this strategy in place, like really starting with what is the core audiences that are important for us? What are those 3 to 5 main segments that truly need to have a different experience across our different channels? What are the data points that we need on these people? Where are we collecting that data? How are we connecting the different channels together? Do we really know what they're interested in, or are we just guessing based on what they bought last time, right? Like, are we really taking our time to understand these customers? And then let's do 3 to 5 segments that we think it's feasible for our team, for example, and let's do those segments right? Like, let's continue every email that goes out should be personalized for these 3. Every banner that goes on the website, every experience, checkout flows, all of that needs to be personalized for these 3 that we have identified, right? And then automation can be a piece that can play a big part. Not everyone needs it. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive for me to say that, but not everyone needs automation. If you have 50 SKUs on your website, you might not need a machine learning algorithm driving product recommendations for you. It might be a great investment at a certain point. If you see you're having 50 hours a month dedicated to people associating products together, like investing in a product recommendation engine. Or even if you're spending a lot of time generating a lot of content, you're seeing interaction with your articles or blogs or recipes or assembly sheets, whatever that might be. If you're seeing a lot of traction, it might make sense to do that investment, and having a partner, having a strategist really drive those decisions to they all tie in together and you're making the right investments. The most important thing, I think it's very long-winded answer to your question. I think it's wrong to look at it as stages of growth. It's not necessarily you do this, then you do this, then you do that. You don't move on, you don't graduate. You always have to have rules-based personalization. You'll always need to have segments. And yes, automated recommendations are great, not needed for everyone, great investment. Look into it, don't be scared. Machine learning and AI sometimes sounds so complicated and everyone thinks like some robots driving. It's not that crazy, and it's a great place to get information, honestly, in my opinion.
Do you have some stories or some practical examples that you could, share to help understand the differences in the approach?
Yeah, I think let's talk about segmentation first. I think segmentation is so powerful if done right, and so underwhelming if not done right. I think segmentation, what we mean by that is using customer data and data points that you have on your customers to put them into buckets and then to cater them different experiences. What we see a lot is customers that go really big and they have 50 different segments that they try to experience with. Someone said we should target these people after a market, and someone said we should look at people who place an order in the last 6 months, and someone said we should look at email openers, and you end up with so many segments, and you might personalize one content one time, one email one time, one journey one time. But the power of true segmentation. We had a customer I can't name, but recently that I worked with, and I loved that. They have a very small team, very kind of cost conscious. They're trying to do the most with the least a little bit. They had 5 segments based on categories of interest and loyalty, and everything they did, they had 5 versions. Everything, the entire journey of the website, and I'm not talking just content, the entire how you logged in, how you registered, how you added products to your cart, the elements that you would see on the product detail pages, the recommendations that you would see, the checkout flow that you had. Everything was different for these 5 different segments that they had. Every email that they sent, every social media campaign, everything was divided, and they had kind of like the process in place. Everyone knew there's 5 groups that we're targeting to, there's 5 groups that we're targeting on messaging to. That doesn't mean that there isn't going to be sometimes one-time segments or one-time groups that you do something for, but there's always that 5 core group, and everyone knew it. And that was the most simplistic way of doing segmentation right, in my opinion. Another great example, we work kind of giving the opposite end of the spectrum. We work, for example, with Nike, right? That's the powerhouse, the big guys. They, in my opinion, the way that they collect data is so powerful. And I think usually sometimes the name and the logo Nike makes people think that we can't do it that way, but it's so simplistic. They have completely broken down data silo barriers. They have a true customer data platform where all of their customer data gets stitched together, and they've kind of written the model one time, and you do this work one time, and it's set up for you in an ongoing basis. They have a profile for me, Nazanin Ramezani, and they know exactly what I've done on the app, with their emails, on different websites, if I have multiple devices. They've truly created a unified profile for me. So then they're not seeing me be interested in emails, for example, and not interacting with social media and thinking I'm not interested in their brand, right? Like they have a truly unified view into that. So I think segmentation can be done right if you have the right data.
So I'm curious about that example the first example you showed where they've got a small team and they have these 5 segments and are doing everything really unique. That sounds like a lot of work for their small team, but I'm guessing they felt like that investment was worth it for them in terms of what they were seeing.
And they've templatized it to a certain extent So it really makes sense. They did that investment when they were going through the website development journey, right? Like they identified these segments very early on in the process. So those kind of checkout workflows, everything has been built into the website. So that doesn't need to be looked into that much. It's the content creation and the personalized like emails and merchandising. And their team already has 5 templates. They try to keep it minimal. They don't go crazy on the designs necessarily. It's a B2B company, so it makes sense. It's a lot more seamless information. But for example, with a button, that's a little bit different for loyal customers versus newcomers. Check this out versus we know you love this. That's a bad example, but you get the idea. Like just having a normal one word even changes. It really matters. It makes a difference.
Yes. In your Nike example, you talked about how they were breaking down data silos and really bringing everything together in a customer data platform. And I'm wondering if we might have people on the call that might be new to the idea of a customer data platform. Could you tell us more about what a CDP is and how it benefits marketers and companies who implement it?
Great question. So a customer data platform is a tool that you invest in where you connect all of your different channels and places that you might have pieces of data about your users, whether it be a marketing automation or ESB or email platform, your social media channels, your ERP, your CRM tool, if you have that, your e-commerce platform, your content platform, your app, if you have one, your backend system that you might have data on, whatever those kind of different places where pieces of customer data live, they all connect to the centralized location called the customer data platform. And it serves as the source of truth for customer data. The idea being that you're bringing all of these different data points, stitching them together and creating one identity per user. So that's a very common challenge that we see in B2B, even more than B2C, honestly, is data silos. So the data that you have on one customer on your website might be very different from the data that you have on them on your email marketing platform or your social media channels, for example, if you work with marketplaces, that place, for example. So CDP really helps break those barriers, and we do this thing called identity stitching. So we identify the unique identifiers in different channels. So for example, this email address is the same as this user ID or customer number or back office ID, and also the CRM code. We stitch them all together and give you one profile. That's kind of the core of what a customer data platform is the source of truth for customer information. You still will have all of the different channels for the activation pieces. You're still sending your emails out of your marketing automation. You're still doing your merchandising on your website, but your core of your customer data lives within this place. Different CDPs offer different functionalities on top of that of how you can use this data. The two that, in my opinion, are the most important are going to be segmentation capabilities and reporting or analytics capabilities. Once you have all of this data in one place, if you can create segments with different data points from different channels, that's very powerful, right? Like if you can create a segment saying, give me a list of customers that have filled out the email sign up form on my website and have opened an email that we sent to them and have also checked out some of our ads on social media in the last 6 months. Or give me a list of customers who showed up to our showroom last month in Atlanta and also have clicked on one of the emails that we sent inviting them, and then went on the website and filled out that landing page that we created for the showroom. Like you're connecting all of these different data points and creating unified segments. The second portion of the capability that I think is the most powerful is the analytics. If you can run reports based on different data points, that can be very, very powerful. Again, I've used this word like 5 times, but if you can create a report of, all right, here's all of my customers that I have, show me known customers that have customer IDs in my ERP, for example, so they've placed an order at some point, and they visited these 5 pages, these landing pages, and also they have bought a product from this category and also interact with our emails and also go on social media. And you can see what the commonalities are. You can really run reports based on all of those data. So that's what a CDP is and what it can do.
How does the Optimizely data platform help save marketers time?
So our optimized data platform, we do all of the things that I mentioned. So we do create those unified views. We will serve as your centralized location for customer data. One of the benefits that we have is that we make connection with our family of products even easier. So the initial setup with, for example, if you have a like Optimize e-commerce cloud, it's a one-click setup, and you have all of your data. So we make that easier. But we don't limit the connection to Optimize products at all. So we can connect to anything out there. We have a very robust API channel that makes it very easy for you to bring any data from anywhere. And I mean that truly. You can connect, you create custom fields. You can really map out what you want that Optimize data platform to look like. If I can share my screen for a second, I just want to highlight two pieces. Here we go. So this is what we call the user journey. So in our ODP, you get a very robust view into the customer's journey across all of your different channels. So this is, for example, an example profile. So up here, I'm seeing some examples, some very preliminary data points. This is David's lifetime value, average order value, kind of some reporting items. But this is where all of the kind of data points live, right? So I can, first of all, have these color-coded tags. So for campaign data, so email subscriptions, the third party that we've connected to this, e-commerce app, and any other data points that I have connected up to this ODP, I can see all of them. If I click on this, I can only see e-commerce data points versus not. So if I select that, I can truly see in a chronological order exactly what this user has done everywhere. So I can see he's visited these pages, if he's added a product to his cart, if he's filled out a form, if he's been a part of an experiment. This is, for example, an email that was sent out. He consented to be opted in to our app, for example. So you get a true view of everything this user has done. And it's truly fun to do this. It's very interesting. But also, we offer a lot of segmentation capabilities. I think the biggest value that people sometimes don't talk about is that the people that are going to be using these tools are not data scientists or developers. I'm not a developer. Like, we need everything to be in common English language. And that's why this tool, this Optimize data platform, is primarily a marketer-friendly tool. So everything is in very common English language. You don't need developers. You don't need to write SQL code to run a segment or a report. So this is how you create a segment. It's very customers who've done something or not, customers who have certain attributes or not. They're in other lists or segments. So it's very simple to create a segment and build on top of those rules. And it's powerful because I have customers who've done something. I have access to all of the things customers could have possibly done on all of my channels. So I can see customers who've opened an email or been sent an email or have been a part of an experiment or went to a specific page on the website or filled out a form or clicked on something in our app, and really build on top of these segments and create these real time and get a number immediately and see exactly who those people are. So I just wanted to showcase that.
I love it. Yeah, it is really exciting when you think about, you know, at the end of the day, digital is all about serving our customers better, providing them with great experiences, and really it gives you that complete view of a customer, you know, 360 view of a customer that enables you to better figure out how to create that really individualized experience for them.
So Naz, you have incredible experience in digital in this space. What about the Optimizely data platform do you think is the most exciting?
We have a lot of products at Optimize. I will say I'm very excited about the Optimize data platform because, first of all, it's very easy to connect it to all the channels you might already have, right? Like, we are not replacing your marketing automation. We're not replacing, it's not that big of an investment. It's very easy to set it up and connect it to whatever current systems you already have running. You can bring in data points from anywhere. And that can be scary sometimes, right? Like, we can have all the data, but really mapping that out is not that difficult in the process that we go through with customers of creating a data spec and kind of visualizing the architecture of this ODP platform can be very fun, and seeing what data points matter from each channel, that can be very powerful and exciting. So I think it really doesn't have limitations because it gives you access to all the data that you currently have. And also, even if you're not using it on a day-to-day basis, collecting that data can be very powerful. So having that whenever you want to use it is very powerful. The second piece, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but the fact that it's very easy to use, it's very business user friendly. We don't have complex trainings. We have training available, but the kind of setup and the getting started and being able to use this is very easy. What we're seeing with a lot of our customers, they just get like a demo access and they're good to go. They don't even want to look through training because it's such an easy platform to understand for the average business user, right? It's not very development heavy. It's not very tech heavy. It's very simple to use on a day-to-day basis. So the user interface, which I feel like sometimes gets left behind, is very important in my opinion.
Yes, the user interface is so important. At the end of the day, people need to be able to use the tools, right? So now that we've got some great questions from our audience, one of the questions that's come in is how will this platform prepare us for the future?
That's a great question. Honestly, I think we all know that now we're talking about data, right? Data is power. The more you know about people, the most important it is. And not in a non-compliant way, right? Like having the information that your customers are willing to share with you and then being able to use it. So that we are seeing over and over again, and over time it's getting more and more, consumer expectations are heightened, right? Like that's something that wasn't something we would talk about in B2B. Personalized experience in B2B was not the norm maybe 5 years ago even, and now we're seeing the consumerization of everyone's behavior. So everyone expects those highly curated, highly individual experiences, and you're not going to get there until you have the data points available to you to be able to create those experiences. So I think that's, even if you're not at a place, if you're in your digital maturity, you're not in a place to really do personalization, I think starting with collecting that data, it really helps. And also the second point I will make, preparing for the future, I think COVID showed this to all of us, in different industries, it was different, but you need to be agile, right? Like at Optimizer, we talk about culture of experimentation. No one knows what's best. Best practice is not like common anymore, right? Like, yes, you need to have a website and an email platform, like, yes, but what you do and how you talk and how your branding looks and what channels you have and how much do you do on email versus social versus website, all of that needs to be agile and needs to be moving on an ongoing basis. You need to be testing and learning from your customers and connecting with them and seeing the data points and the analytics and making decisions based on the data. And customer expectations change very rapidly, right? Like you can't come up with a strategy and be like, this is our strategy for the next 10 years, right? That fluidity is not possible without actual data that is not siloed in one channel versus the other. So I think that's how you need to have that base in place if you're planning for the future.
And I'd like to get both your perspectives on this, Lori and Naz. So another audience question that came in was around how you build a business case to leadership to justify this investment in this platform, or in this area, I should say. What's your take? I'll start with you, Lori. What's your take?
Yes, justifying the investment. I think well, I mean, one of the things I've heard Naz talking about is like how many different paths there are as a part of this, like that there's not just one thing. And so from my perspective, it's really about investing in a path forward and laying a foundation that you're going to grow over time. And what I've seen, there's research out there, but I don't know that have the stats in front of me around you're increasing customer loyalty when they have a personalized experience with your site and with your company. They're going to come back. That's what helps differentiate you from your competition. And also, you know, things like product recommendations and helping people find the information they're looking for better has the ability to increase average order value. So like at the end of the day, you can actually make more money, and you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to invest in all the tools at the beginning. That would be my take. Naz, what would you say?
I agree. You don't have to do it all at once. I think the easiest way to start is to do small personalization campaigns with what is available to you. I think everyone, as long as you have a website and presence, you can do some sort of personalization. And running experiments is a very powerful way of showing value, right? Like if you send an email to half of your database that's not personalized and an email that's highly personalized, and you compare how people interact with it and the different impact, whether it be revenue, conversions, click-throughs, whatever that KPI that you identify is, running experiments can be a very persuasive way, especially over a longer period of time, maybe like 5 to 10 emails versus a couple months on the website, can be very powerful to show what personalization can do. And then also with a lot of the kind of larger investments, also if you're doing machine learning and you're doing recommendation engines, majority of those tools come with a reporting dashboard which shows you exactly how much money you're making, how many people are clicking through this, how many people are converting. And for example, with our product recommendation engine, we expect over 60% increase in average order value, which seems like a crazy number to say, but we keep seeing it over and over and over again. The customers that kind of invest in product recommendations keep seeing that revenue kind of from day one. With so you can kind of have those conversations. And also, don't be afraid to ask, like setting up, even if your executive is not kind of fully invested in the personalization capabilities, seeing a demo can be very powerful. Getting on a call with an agency like Brilliance, talking to strategists who have done this for other customers, seeing what your competitors are doing, and schedule a demo. Get the experts to explain it to you, to show it to you, to see, kind of paint a picture of what it could look like in the next 5 to 10 years. And showcasing that full kind of investment can be very powerful to see the value that it can bring for your organization specifically.
I want to say thank you, Naz, for taking time out of your really busy schedule to support this today. I thought it was a really interesting topic to hit on, and if people have questions, can they reach out to you, Naz, on LinkedIn? Is that okay?
Of course. Absolutely, yes. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is easy to find.
Perfect. Yes, thank you again. Thank you everyone for attending. If you have questions for Naz, find her on LinkedIn. If you have questions for us, you know where to find us as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll all be in touch soon.
Thank you, everyone.